ever wish that you could go back in time and change something? Or maybe go back and tell your previous self, don't do that, or do this? Or is that just me? I got another question for you. Did you follow through in your New Year's resolutions this year? How long did you last? A couple weeks? A couple days? A couple hours? I know you're probably thinking, how do those two questions relate? Well, they relate because I'm guessing the reason that you want to go back and tell your previous self to do something or to not do something is because you didn't have clear goals. You didn't know what was going to happen, right? But what if I told you that there was not a way to go back, but a way to almost talk to yourself in the future? Why do you think that so many people set goals, but very few people actually follow through? Here's the thing to remember real quick. If you aren't actively working to achieve your goals and your dreams, you're actively working to achieve someone else's. So how do we go into the future? How do we actually get ourselves to follow through? Well, it all comes down to two basic human impulses. We're always at any point, we're either moving away from pain or we're moving toward pleasure. Most people are not actually in enough pain to make the change and to take action. The funny thing is, though, that we're actually always changing and adapting at all times. But most of it's not conscious, it's not intentional. We all have different pain thresholds. You know, what may seem normal to one person could be unimaginable pain to someone else. We adapt and we change anyway, so why not make it intentional? Why not change our future now? So how do you talk to yourself in the future? The most effective way to create change and catalyze action now is to get leverage. That's how we talk to ourselves in the future. We leverage through pain. The most effective way to leverage pain is through questions. You know, I gotta admit, I actually wish that I had known how to leverage pain before my son got cancer and I almost lost my business. I could have used it to get leverage and to make my health a priority. You know, hindsight's 20/20. We can see what happened when we go, I wish I could have, I wish I would have, right? But here's the crazy thing. A lot of times people don't really know that they're experiencing pain because they've adapted. We become complacent. And here's where your clarity and here's where you can talk to your future self comes in. The reality of the situation is that most people will do more to avoid pain than to gain pleasure. That's why people are afraid of rejection, of failure. Sometimes they're afraid of success because deep down they think it's going to cause them more pain to actually go for those things, to actually get what they want, than to just settle. I've got a story about that real quick. You know, me and my wife, we know someone that has some health issues, and from time to time this person has asked us for advice on their health, and they've asked straight up advice. What do you think I should do here? What do you think I should do here? What about this? And so we will lovingly give this person advice, and before you know it, they've thrown all the advice out the window and they're back to their old lifestyle. And my wife would be like, we give them all this information, we give them all this help, why are they not using it? The reason is because this person, I believe, links more pain to changing than they do to staying the way they are. They don't want to change their lifestyle. They don't want to have a better diet. They don't want to exercise more. They want to stay the way they are because deep down they feel like it's going to cause more pain to change than to just stay, even though they have serious health issues already. Comfort is the enemy of progress. When you get comfortable, you get complacent. And complacency will kill your momentum. It will kill your progress. So a lot of times we have the tools, we have the resources, we have the maps, we have all the things that we need, but we don't use them. Most people know what to do, but they don't do what they know. Bottom line. So how do we get ourselves to take action? How do we talk to ourselves in the future? How do we leverage the pain? The leverage actually comes through asking questions. I actually use these questions to get myself to take action. And I can leverage pain by doing that. The thing is, most of us just end up skating through life instead of being intentional. But here's the thing, our brain is wired to answer questions. We're always trying to find answers to questions. That's how our brain works. So if we ask ourselves a question, our brain has no choice but to answer that question. So I know I keep teasing that you can talk to yourself in the future. Here's how you do that. You ask it through questions. There are 3 powerful questions that I have asked myself in the last couple of years that have made a huge difference in my life, a huge difference in my health, a huge difference in my relationships, in my businesses. These 3 questions are basically what make up the foundation of how you take action and how you talk to your future self. There's all kinds of questions you can ask, but there's 3 main ones, 3 foundational ones that I'll talk to you about right now. Number 1, what is stopping me? Why am I not taking this action? Why am I getting stuck? Why am I not making the calls? Why am I not posting? Why am I not networking? Why am I not doing that? What is stopping me? And your brain will automatically start to find the answers. And that could produce some pain, because then you realize, well, it's because I'm being lazy. Well, it's because I'm afraid. Second question I ask myself is, what happens if I don't? What happens if I don't do this? And this is how you start to project into the future. This is how you start to communicate with your future self. You ask, what happens if I don't do this? What happens in 3-4 months if I don't make those calls? If I don't network? If I don't knock on doors, if that's your thing? What happens if I don't take this action? What kind of pain am I going to endure if this doesn't happen? What happens if I don't make my health a priority? If I could have asked myself that question before my son got sick, then I maybe could have started coming up with some answers. Maybe it wouldn't have happened. Now, I'm not saying you should dwell in the past. I don't think anyone should do that. The past has happened. I think we should learn from it, but we shouldn't dwell in it. My point is that you can use these tools to avoid pain and to gain pleasure. You can use these to find meaning and to prevent things from happening. Now, can you control everything? Absolutely not. Obviously, this isn't a magic bullet to make your life, perfect. But our choices, they influence the future. What we decide to do right now will influence what happens to us in the future. And that brings me to my third question. I ask this question every morning when I wake up, and I ask myself this question all throughout the day. Is this action, whether it's negative or positive, is it bringing me closer to or further away from the person that I want to become? Is staying in bed instead of getting up, is that bringing me closer to or further away? Is working out in the morning, is that bringing me closer to or further away? Is making those calls, is networking, is eating healthy, whatever it is, there's no gray areas. It's black and white. Is it bringing you closer to, or is it bringing you further away? And that's how you can talk to yourself in the future, because you start to realize, if I do this, this is what's going to happen. These are simple questions that create pain or pleasure, depending on how you look at it. This will give you more clarity, because the bottom line is clarity is power. Clarity is the thing that will help you to follow through, to get to your goals, to prevent things from happening that maybe would have happened otherwise. Most people actually think that they're not very good at accomplishing their goals, when in reality, they just aren't clear on their goals. So if you're having trouble taking action, getting yourself to follow through, remember that you have to ask yourself questions. You know, James Clear says that habits are automatic choices that influence the conscious decisions that follow. And decisive moments set the options available for your future. So, are you moving further away or closer to the person you want to become? James Clear also said the point of starting a small habit is not to do the small thing. The point is to master the habit of showing up. All you have to do today is take a small action. Just commit to showing up. Just ask yourself the questions. What is stopping me? What happens if I don't? And is this bringing me closer to or further away from the person that I want to become? Remember, the action you take today becomes the person you are tomorrow. Thank you for being here. Please like, share, and subscribe. Remember to take action daily, even if it's something small, and keep asking yourself questions to really get your brain to work for you instead of against you. Until next time.